Today we're talking about money, and I love the subject of money, I really do. First and foremost, because we're not prosperity gospel preachers here, which means basically we don't teach in such a way that like if you give, you get. I think that creates a transactional relationship with God, and God's not interested in a transactional relationship with you, just like you're not really interested in a transactional relationship with someone else. If you have a friend or you have a husband or a wife, and if they approached you with, as long as you do these things for me and I do these things for you, we'll be fine. I mean, first of all, you're gonna fail. You're not gonna hold up your end of the bargain. They're not gonna hold up their end of the bargain. And so it's never a good thing to build a relationship based off if you do this and I do this, everything's gonna be okay. So in fact, the beauty of love really is at the end of the day, that when you get to the place in a marriage where you look at someone and you go, oh, I see your big failures and I see your big flaws and I see the things that maybe I didn't see at first, now I see them with clear eyes and I still choose you anyway. And that's really kind of what we're talking about when we talk about our money with relationship with God. It's not a give to get kind of relationship. It is a give because the mission matters, and it's a give because God has given to us so much. And we are so grateful for our salvation, and we're so grateful for all that he's done for us in this life. So I will say this at the very beginning. If you don't get money right in your life, you're gonna have a lot wrong in your life. If you don't get money right in your life, you're gonna have a lot wrong in your life. In other words, if you have, and we're gonna talk about some of the reasons for this real quick in just a minute, but if you have money problems, you need to learn money. It's just like any other skill in life, you can 100% learn how to be good with money, okay? And if you are good with money, it's great. So here's what I'm gonna suggest at the very beginning. I'm gonna suggest you should like money, but you should not love money. You should like money because if you don't like money, you're never going to put in the work necessary to become good at having finances and resources. And that plays a big part in the kind of life that you're gonna build for yourself, your family, and the generations behind you. And I'm always thinking about not just my life right now, I'm thinking about the generations that are gonna come behind my life, the Adkins that will follow after us. We need to set the example. We need to be the example so that the people that are coming after you will make a huge difference. Somebody told me this a long time ago. They said, when you're born, you look like your parents, but when you die, you look like your choices. And I think that is a huge deal for us to realize. We have this amount of time, however God gives us, this amount of time to steward that life in such a way that it makes a difference here and for eternity. And so we're calling on that. As we've been looking at Ecclesiastes, Solomon, who is the son of King David in the Old Testament, one of the wisest men ever, the Bible teaches, Solomon is teaching us to root our lives not just in this world and the things that this world offers, the products and services and goods that this world offers, but to root our lives in something eternal so that after God grants some of these other things to us, we know how to live a life. He doesn't want us, and the imagery that he uses over and over is a chasing of the wind. You can imagine a madman just running through a field trying to capture the wind. You can't do it. You can grab at it, you can see the wind when it moves the leaves, but you can't possess the wind. And he says, much of life today is spent in the pursuit of things we can't actually really possess, but only can hold on to for a moment. And he says, let's root our lives in something deeper. Ecclesiastes 5, chapter 5, verse 10 says this, whoever loves money, everyone say loves. Whoever loves money never has enough, right? Whoever loves, everyone says loves. Whoever loves wealth is never satisfied with their income. This too is meaningless. Meaning pointless, not just pointless, but it doesn't mean pointless. It means like it doesn't work. I mean, how can you ever be satisfied if you love money? He says you won't be satisfied. And I love how he puts this together. That's why I think we should like it. We should not love it. We should respect it. We should not love it. We should know it's a tool, but we should not love it. Because when you cross the line of loving something, you make it an idol, whether it's money or a person or your goals, your aspirations, your house, your environment, whatever it is. When you make something else the love of your life and it's not God himself first, what happens is that thing becomes an idol, and every idol demands a sacrifice. And for some of us, materialism has caused us to sacrifice 80 hours a week just so that we can have more and more and more and more. And the reality is you're wasting your life on something that you'll never be able to keep, because we come into this world naked, we go out of this world naked, and we can't take anything with us. And so at the end of the day, we have to ask ourselves, are we actually investing in things that really make sense? But I think you should like money, because I think money is powerful and it has its place in our life. But what you need to know is that your views of money right now have nothing to do with what you think they do. Up on the screen. Money is never just money. It's a mirror of your heart and a test of your trust. Money is not just about money, right? It is a mirror of your heart and a test of your trust. So how is it a mirror of your heart? Well, what you do with your money reveals what you love most. It does. So for Kelly and I, we've made the decision that we want to lead from the front always. We always want to do things that we ask you guys to do. We want to do them first, and we want to make sure we do that. For 10 years, the largest electronic transfers that we make, the largest electronic transfers that we make every single month are to the church. And I know some of you are weirdly skeptical about preachers and money, and I don't blame you. But you don't have to do that with me, because you're like, well, Mike, you're just giving to your thing, man. That's tricky. It's circular. That's not how no. I have a unique fund in the church. I'm the only person that can do this because I made it up and I'm in charge. So here's the thing. That fund basically is that all of our money that we tithe goes to that fund, and that fund alone goes either into the benevolence fund to fund people who don't have enough food or counseling scholarships next door. That money never circles back around to us in any way, shape, or form. We are all in as a family. We're all in as a family, okay? So what are some of the challenges here in verse 11? As goods and products and services increase, so do those who consume them. And what benefit are they to the owners except to feast their eyes on them? Take a look at this. So goods are the same thing in the ancient world as they are today. They're products and services, right? And as the products and services increase, right? So you got your robot, right? We talked about that already. You went out and bought their robot, right? So as goods, products, and services increases, so do those who consume them, right? What benefit are they to the owners? I love, because he asked this question several times. What benefit are you actually deriving from the products and the services that you are rendering? Now, you might be able to look through that and go, there are some things that are really great. Like for me, I have my lawn taken care of. I hate that stuff. And it would take me 10 hours to do it. I hate it. So it's a benefit. But how many of us have bought things over the years that we bought that we really didn't need? That at the end of the day, we really didn't have a need for, or we didn't even gain any kind of enjoyment from them. But here's what I want you to see he's doing. He's talking 2,750 years ago, and he's giving us some great clarity, watch this, about something that we struggle with here today. And that is, as services increase, so does our purchasing of them. So here, let's do a thought experiment real quick, okay? Here we go. So let's say that you make $50,000 a year, okay? $50,000 a year. The next year, you make 60. The next year you make 70, the next year you make 80, right? Now the cool thing about this is if you keep your lifestyle at 50,000, right? Now you have a $30,000 cushion. We call that margin, right? That margin, that $30,000 cushion, it creates a little peace in your life. Money cannot produce peace. It can produce circumstantial peace. So that when the refrigerator breaks and you need an entirely new refrigerator, you can just go out and buy it, no problem. No big, you just go, well, okay, that feels good. And guess what? It feels like a reward when you go out and you buy the new refrigerator that it broke, because you don't have to worry about it like most Americans, right? But watch this. The problem happens though for many people is they get the $50,000 salary, right? Then they get the $80,000 salary, but now we're like, hey, I have $30,000. How can I spend the $30,000? And before you know it, watch this, because this scales. It scales to every different financial level, right? So if you have $80,000 and you're spending $80,000, you're net zero, right? If you make $2 million a year and you spend $2 million a year, you're just as broke as the $80,000 guy. You're in exactly the same situation. You just might have more stuff that sits around that you're not doing anything with. And so which is why we have this is gonna step on somebody, all right? This is why our garages are full and why we now have places that we put our stuff in, what do they call those things? Storage, yeah, really hard word there, Mike. Yeah, storage, storage. Yeah, we have storage things because we just have an abundance of things overflowing, right? And so we decided we understand this because I know some of you, and there's 3 things that you should be doing. 3 things you should be doing with your money. You're like, you're gonna tell me what to do with my money? Yes, because you need to know. According to all the things that are out there in our country that talk about how much we spend based on our income, we need to learn this lesson. I took a class long before Dave Ramsey was a thing. It was a class called Crown Ministries. Yeah, thank you. Some of you went through it too. Crown Ministries. And Crown Ministries was great for me. One thing lodged deeply inside my heart when I did that. I was 20 when I took the class. And that was the borrower is slave to the lender. And I'm like, I'm not gonna be a slave to anybody. That's not gonna be me. I'm not gonna be a slave to my money. I'm not gonna be a slave to my situation. I'm not gonna be a slave to some addiction. I'm just not gonna be a slave. I don't want that. I wanna be free. And so we made decisions very early on when Kelly and I got married at 23 that we were going to live beneath our circumstances so that we could have margin in our life. And it was really hard at first because I'm challenging you right now to go out and start building margin in your life, which means for some of you, you just gotta start subtracting things, right? So what we did was we graduated in 1993 from college, right? 1993, not 1893, right? 1993, right? And we had $60,000, $60,000, a little over $60,000 in student loans. That's over six figures in today's like adjusted dollars for inflation. It was a lot. And so I got out of the college with this great degree and I made $8 an hour. And then, I know, I was swinging, right? Then my wife got a job at Harcourt Brace Textbook Publishing Company downtown Orlando, and she made $26,000 a year. We thought we were rich. It was gonna be great. And then we got the bills. The first one was $800 for the repayment. Our mortgage, our College Park condo on the golf course cost us $450 a month, right? That's how much it costs, right? So we got this stuff and we're like, we can't pay our bills like this. It's not gonna work. This money doesn't work for us. The money wasn't moneying, okay? So here's what we did. We did three things with our money. Number one, we saved. You're like, how can you save? Because you pay yourself first. Every financial advisor would tell you this, pay yourself first. We saved, not a lot, just little bits, and then we invested, and then we gave. These three things should be the pillar of your finances. If they're not, you're messing up your finances right now, I'm telling you. You're like, but I have a lot of money in the bank. Finances are not all about money in the bank, they're about your heart too. If you are saving and investing and you're not giving anything, your heart's shriveling. You're not spiritually generous, it's not gonna work for you, bro. And we'll talk about it in just a little while. So we were doing these three things. And you know what? Here's what we did. We only put away $30 a month in our 401k. That's what we did 30 something years ago. Put it away 30 something years ago. And you're like, Mike, 10% return on $30 is $3. You know, $300 for the, you know, just rounding round it's $30 a year. That's nothing. But you know what I do? I look at it now, 30 something years later, and you know what we did was we always kept margin, but we increased as time went on. We increased as time went on, but we just kept our margins way below. And so we started funneling these things. So there was more savings and there was more investing and there was more giving. And we just did that all the time. So every time we get more, it's more savings, more investing, and more giving. Those three categories. It solves something inside the heart, the materialism that comes along with us. And we've always done that. We don't give 10%, we give over 13% right now to the church because I want to say to you, do this thing and it will work out for your life. And you know what? The other day I looked at those 401ks. We got money. We got some money. Like we're gonna be okay. And one day, and by the way, the younger you are, the earlier you start on this, game changer. You're like, don't even worry about Social Security being there because you'll be absolutely fine. You'll take care of yourself, your family, and hopefully your grandkids, because we're gonna talk about that soon too. So don't let your life constantly chase. Don't let your money chase your life. Don't let your lifestyle chase your salary. Spend less than you earn. Seems simple, but it's really complicated for apparently a bunch of people. So let's take a look at this. If you don't get the right mindsets here, that's why you have to like money, but not love money. If you don't get the right mindsets right with your money, it's gonna mess everything up. So let's talk about some of these things. All of these mindsets are based in fear. Scarcity is the first one. It convinces you that every opportunity is a trap, so you stay small, cautious, and behind. For you think, I'm just never gonna have enough. And so when something comes along that's a good investment opportunity or whatever, you're like, no, I'm scared I'm gonna lose it. I'm scared I'm gonna lose it. Here's what you need to know about markets, just from the very beginning of the stock market till now. Watch this. This is true. And by the way, I've never lost $1 in the stock market ever. And you go, that's not possible. Come on. Tell me how I didn't do it. I never took it out. That's right. I've never taken $1 out. But here's what you gotta know, right? Especially for those of you who are young. When you invest, you're buying little pieces of companies. So here's what you're doing, right? So it starts here, right? And this is what it does. Over time, this is what the market does. It goes up and down. You don't worry about the ups and downs. It goes up and down, but it always ends higher down the road. And you need to know that's gonna be your whole life. That's what that's gonna look like. So one day you're gonna be able to have more than you need, and then you're gonna be able to do that and use that with purpose. Because we're not just accumulating money. Money for money's sake is an absolute terror on a life. Next, look at this. Passivity Passivity and resentment, these are all both things that deal with fear. It keeps you waiting for life to change while your finances drift, decay, and stay underdeveloped. If you're not doing anything about it, you're doing something about it. You're abdicating responsibility. That's what you're doing. You're not doing what you should do in this. And I love you guys, and I want you to be free, and I don't want you to be slaves, and I don't want you to be anxious all the time. That's why I want you to see these things. Resentment, it blinds you to wisdom because you can't learn from people that you're too busy judging. Oh, those rich people. Those rich people that's awesome. I'm glad that they have it. You know what we've done? I would love to live in Winter Park. I'm too poor to live in Winter Park. Or at least 32792, which is where I'd like to live. But I can't because I'm too poor to be able to live there, right? But you know what I've done for like 25, 30 years? I like driving around Winter Park. I like driving around Winter Park and looking at the houses on the lake. It's awesome. And you know what I've done for almost 30 years? I pray for all of them. I go through there and I'm like, Lord, thank you for this person living on Lake Maitland. I pray, God, that one day they will come into a relationship with you if they don't know you. And I'm expecting to get to heaven one day. And some guy's gonna come and go, man, I'm here because you prayed for me and you didn't even know it. And I'm gonna be like, you got to live on Lake Maitland and you're in heaven? Bro, come on. That's a game changer. Seriously, way to go, way to go. Don't be resentful of people who have more than what you have. Be grateful for what we have, right? Next, fear. It's just straight up fear. It freezes your ability to take healthy risks. And no one ever grew anything without taking a risk. You've never grown your marriage without taking a risk. You've never grown your business without taking a risk. Risk is a necessary part of life. And basically you can call risk faith. And if you live in fear, faith does not show up. Avoidance, it pushes, this is like neglect basically. It pushes you to ignore money until the problems become too big. Don't wait until everything crashes. Don't wait until you can't pay your mortgage anymore to give yourself margin. Next. The last one is short-term thinking. It trades long-term stability for temporary comfort, leaving you unprepared for the future that you prayed for. God, please give me this amazing future. I pray that you'd help my kids. I pray that you'd help us. I pray that you would just show up in powerful ways, and then we do nothing about it. Short-term thinking, there's something that I think we've lost in a big way in America today, and it's this thing I think, again, if you get this in your heart, and just go home and read about it. It's a concept. If you get it in your heart, it will change your life in every area. It's called delayed gratification. Delayed gratification simply means I don't get what I want right now. When we lived in that College Park thing, we had a mattress. For 7 years, we paid off our student loans. And we had a mattress on the floor, we had a card table, and we had a couch. And for 7 years, we did that. And after that, aside from our homes earlier, which are now paid off, apart from that, we've been debt-free for our entire life. And I gotta tell you, man, it feels good. It feels good. And by the way, you don't have to make tons of money to be debt-free. You just have to control your expenses to be debt-free and have a long time horizon. And to be able to say, today we're not gonna go to, we had a couple in the church, this is about 3 years ago, they bought us a trip to Paris. Like walking around money, the trip, the whole thing, the hotel. An anonymous couple did that in the church, which is awesome because I'd really like to go to Italy too. And, but you know what? Like we never did that. We have kids that are traveling to Europe, you know, in our church all the time and doing stuff like, we didn't do that. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just, don't trade your future for your present. Some people get so consumed with the present that you forget that something's coming down here. And I can tell you right now, being 55 years old, my present is way better than my present was in the past. God continues to make things better and better and better. If you just delay gratification, if you just say, you know what, I'm gonna save myself for the right relationship. I'm gonna watch my finances for my children, not just for me. I'm gonna serve my wife even though it's inconvenient for me to do so. Man, these things, they change your life. And I learned this as a young man, and it has served me really, really well. Delayed gratifications, go home and check it out. Deuteronomy 8:18 says this, but remember the Lord your God, for it is he who gives you the ability to produce wealth, and so confirms his Abrahamic covenant, which he swore to his ancestors, as it is today. So this covenant that he's talking about here, this is something that God made with Abraham. He said, Abraham, I'm gonna make you a man whose descendants are as numerous as the sands on the seashore, which he has, which represent the Jewish people and the Islamic people and all of those who have come from Abraham. And so what we have here though is he's got this promise, and this promise is, I'm gonna give you a land, I'm gonna give you people, I'm gonna give you a reputation. People are gonna talk about you for the rest of the world. But he says this, remember the Lord your God. God says this numerous times in the Old Testament because it seems like it's very easy for us when we get into good situations to forget the Lord our God. We remember the Lord your God, for it is he who gives you the ability to produce wealth. So if you grew up in a family like that was poor, and you think to yourself, well, this is just what happened. No, listen. That's not, just because you grew up in a family that's poor doesn't mean that you have to manage money poorly. The reality is this. The reality is mindsets travel through families like curses do, or mindsets travel through families like blessings do. And so one of the things that's true about wealthier people than poorer people is wealthier people talk about money with their kids, they talk about investments with their kids, they teach their kids, and they pass down mindsets so that the kids are better equipped to be able to deal with things in the future. My father did not do that for me. My father was the biggest lover of money that I've ever met in my life. We lived in 19 different houses because in 20 years, 19 different houses in 20 years, because every time he was a full-time commission sales guy, he would just move to the bigger house and get the bigger house and the bigger house because he wanted more and more and more and more and better and better and better and better. And we just moved to bigger houses along the way. And then something would happen in the business and then we'd take big steps backwards and we go back to the smaller house. And then we build back up and we just do it over and over again. It created so much instability in our life. Why? Because he was just in pursuit of bigger and better because somehow he confused his self-worth with his net worth. And when you confuse your self-worth and your net worth together, you become miserable in life. This is the reason why my wife and I have lived in our house that we live in right now for 26 years, because our kids have never known another house. And I wanted to create that stability. We created that stability. He says, listen, it's God who gives you the ability to produce the wealth. If your family passed down some broken mindsets, whether it's about money or anything else, you need to know, remember the Lord your God because it's him who produces the outcomes for your life. He produces your abilities. He produces your talents. And you go, no, I do that, Mike. You don't. There's no self-made men or women. There just isn't, I'm sorry. That's a delusion you like to tell yourself. The reality is God gave you the talent that you have, the abilities that you have, the mind that you have, the ability to grind like you do, to stay late versus everyone else. He gave you those abilities. So we have to remember the Lord in all of that. And not just walk past him and say, look how glorious I am, God. God humbles the man that does that. God humbles the man that does that. And so instead, he says here, what I want you to realize is that I'm the one that gives you these abilities. And so trust me. That's why I don't love money. It's why I like money. I don't love money. I love Jesus. I love the Lord God first above all things. And when I love him first above all things, everything else begins to make sense. When you get it backwards, everything falls apart. Verse 11. As goods increase, so do those who consume them. And what benefit are they to the owners? Again, he asks a very practical question. He believes that the money that you have needs to produce some kind of benefit for your life, some kind of good thing. And what we've been taught, because we're Americans, all of us have been taught this, no matter where we come from or like what kind of background we have. If you grew up here, this is what you learned. You learned the more money you have, the better off your life will be. And the Bible punches that and says that is absolutely not true. We're gonna hit that in just a minute. In fact, he says this, verse 12, the sleep of laborer is sweet, whether they eat little or much, but as for the rich, their abundance permits them no sleep. Interesting, right? So he begins to punch it right here. He says this, who's the laborer, by the way? The laborer is the person that comes and builds the house, right? You're the one that commissioned the house to be built. Then you've got people who come in, pour the concrete, the people that are driving in the nails, the people who are pulling wire through. These are the laborers. And their sleep is sweet because why? Because whether they have little or much, their hearts are at ease. They're not carrying around the burden of somebody who has abundance. And you go, Mike, isn't abundance good? It can be. But abundance can also be terrible. And I'll show you how in just a minute. But this abundance right here, somebody told me this a long time ago. He said, Mike, there's two types of people as it relates to money. And they both of them are related to fear. One, the person is afraid they're never going to have enough. Two, they're afraid they're gonna lose what they have. And the reality is, if you love money, though you will be one of those two people. If you like money, you don't have to be either one of those people. In 2008, there was a financial crisis, and it dealt with like credit default swaps and real estate and all this stuff in our country. And the economy just tanked, like rapidly and quick. It was kind of an overnight boom, everything went down. I remember reading the story of a French financier, And this guy had invited a bunch of his family members to invest in his funds, and a bunch of his friends and a bunch of the people that he knew. He's really kind of just like everybody was all bought in. He was brilliant, but because he was on the wrong side of this trade, he lost most of it. And he ended up jumping off of a building the next day. But the crazy thing about this is that if he had just stuck with it and just held in there, within a couple of months, most of his returns would have been back into the market. And the difference here is, like, what does my money say about me? It's a test of my trust. It's a mirror of my heart. His heart was definitely that I am the value of my production and nothing more. And now I've hurt everybody. I can't face them. I'm just gonna take my life. Whereas I would like to think if somebody's a follower of Jesus, they would be able to approach that differently. I would come and I would be embarrassed and I would say, guys, like, this is terrible. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. Things happened here, but these things were happening in the market. They happened to everybody all at once. So we're gonna take some time, we're gonna watch it, we're gonna examine it. And in the background, I'd be saying, Lord, I need you to guide me. I need you to lead me. I'm gonna trust you. Right now, I can't see a way out of this. And guys, every one of us is gonna be in a situation in our life where we're not gonna be able to see the way out. And at that point, you're either gonna rely on your own self or you're gonna rely and trust in Jesus. And I'm gonna trust in Jesus as much as I possibly can every time. The reason for that is because he has the answers, because he's God. And God is orchestrating the circumstances of your life. I would like to think at the end of that, I would come back and say, we're gonna have to rebuild for the next 5, 10 years, but I promise you, I'm gonna do the best I can to get you back what you had and more. You see the difference in intensity there? The one is a little bit more detached and the other is just all bought in on I'm either valuable because I can produce or I'm not and I'm worth nothing and I'm gonna die if I can't produce. You have to detach yourself from just the production of who you are. I don't get up here every time and think to myself, if today's message goes terrible, I'm a terrible person. That's not it. I walk away and I go, wasn't the best. And that's it, and then I move on. Why? Because I don't trust in this. We can't root ourselves in this world in such a way that the world tells us and demands from us a sacrifice that we don't want to give. Every idol demands a sacrifice. Verse 13 says it like this. I've seen a grievous evil under the sun, wealth hoarded to the harm of its owners, or wealth lost through some misfortune, so that when they have children, there is nothing left for them to inherit. So it's interesting here, he breaks these two parts of the passage up in different ways. This is too much, this is not enough, right? This person has too much, this person has not enough. It could be the same person, or it could be a different people, but he says a grievous evil. I'm gonna come back and show you what this means in the original language, because it's really insightful. I've seen a grievous evil under the sun, wealth hoarded. So what is a hoard? It means that it's just stacked up. It means that you have bank accounts that are just sitting there and they don't have purpose attached to them. They don't have surrender attached to them. They're just holding on to a bunch of money sitting in an account, right? You're just holding on to it. And he's noticed as he's watched other people who have this money, as have I, that it leads to the harm of its owners. This produces fear and other things we're gonna talk about in just a second. Or it's not invested in such a way where it can return something down the road. In the story of the parables, which is the story that people usually talk about in money, there's one thing I think that's often missed. And that is, the story goes essentially that you've got these people, they invest. The master says, invest my money, I'm gonna give it to you. I'm gonna come back and I'm gonna ask for an accounting of that. We first forget that the story Jesus is telling is one day the master is going to ask for an accounting. What did we do with what he gave to us, right? Did we just put it in a bank account and say, hey, check me out? Right? Or did we do something more significant with it? The second thing I think that's missed on that, the one who had the one talent, he buried it. And then when the master came back and said, you wicked and lazy servant, why did he call him wicked? I can see lazy. But he calls him wicked because he had no faith and trust that if you invest this in the right ways and you're gonna have the returns that God wants you to have. So you've got to be working and investing and multiplying what God's given to you. This is why we get together as a family, a husband and a wife, and we multiply, right? And this is why we take the money that God's given to us and we multiply it. Why? So that we can use it for the purposes of the Lord and for our family. There's nothing wrong. If you go to Italy and you come back and I say, hey, where you been? I haven't seen you for a couple of weeks. You're like, we went to Italy. Don't feel shame. God gave you the ability to have that. It's a blessing to you. Don't waste your margin though. Don't ruin your margin in that. Take your life step by step, delaying gratification so that you can arrive at a place one day where you actually can have your money work for you instead of the other way around. But then look at this, watch this, watch this. He's like, this grievous evil is people who just hoard it. But the grievous evil here is what? There's not enough to pass down in some way. He calls them both equally grievous and evils. And what does that mean? Look at what the original language says here. It's the word ra'akula, and it means grievous. And it's the idea of sickening, tragic, painful, or ruinous circumstances around money. And it's not just evil in a moral sense, but it's a sense of reality that damages the human soul. And I can firsthand testify to this. In my family, I broke the chain of alcoholism and violence with my father and anger with my father. My kids don't know an alcoholic father or a violent father or an angry father who's irrationally angry. My kids don't know that. But I also broke the money pattern in our family as well. Because my father, while we had boats and we're in the Bahamas and stuff like that when I was a kid, it was fun, it was awesome and everything like that, he lived 110%. He lived 110% to his paycheck. And at the end, he just kind of died poor. But here's the biggest thing. In 1988, there was a savings and loan crisis in the country as well. Savings and loans were things that were like regional banks, kind of. And my father had $5 million in one of these savings and loans here at one of these savings and loans, and like loans and stuff like that. And so he was using them basically to buy the furniture for his furniture store and sell and do all that kind of stuff. And that's how business is done. But when these things crashed, there was a liquidity problem. So these banks called in and said, hey, we need all of our stuff back. We need our money back. And man, he liquidated everything that he had in his business, and he still didn't have enough, and he had to claim bankruptcy. And I'll tell you what, guys, listen, because I told you my father was one of the biggest materialists that I've ever met. My father never recovered after that. He had a couple of jobs here and there, but he just never became the guy that he was before. He fell flat on his face, and because his net worth was attached to his self-worth, he fell flat in his face. And it was a grievous evil that undid and caused him all kinds of pain and trouble. In fact, towards the end of his life, nobody knows why he really died. The doctors use phrases like idiopathic when they don't know what it actually means. Because you went to school for a long time, and you gotta say something. You can't just say, so they call it idiopathic, lung and heart disease or whatever. And they really didn't know, but I think he just died of a broken heart. He finished his life going, I didn't do what I was supposed to do. I just don't want us ever to have that kind of place in our life where we look back and go, man, I didn't do it. I didn't live the way I was supposed to live. I didn't act the way I was supposed to act. I didn't serve the way I was supposed to serve. I didn't give. It's a grievous thing. And Solomon says that this word means sickening, tragic, painful, and ruinous. And I think all those words apply to my father before he died. Up on the screen, money's never just money. It's a mirror of your heart. Like when you place your trust in it, it's a mirror of your heart. And it's a test of your trust. What do you really trust in? The picture is someone who's consumed by protecting their wealth, and that wealth eventually becomes a toxin in their life. Jesus echoes this idea. Life does not consist in the abundance of possessions. Life does not consist in the abundance of your possessions. He makes it very basic. He's like, the more you have does not equal life and true life. It doesn't equal good life. It doesn't equal meaningful, purposeful life. It doesn't. You know what it does do? It helps things circumstantially. It allows you to have your yard mowed. It allows you to make sure that if the air conditioning breaks, you can go out and do that so you don't have to be stressed out. I don't want you to have that stress. I want you to have the margin in your life so that you're able to fix the circumstances that you go through. So the question I think becomes for us is, how have we stewarded what God's given to us in the world? How have we stewarded what God's given to us in the world? And if some of you are in the background going, I just have done a terrible job, fine, great. Don't walk around in guilt and ridiculousness like that. Just make the choice today, make a better choice. When you're born, you look like your parents. When you die, you look like your choices. Let's die with choices that represent good things in our life, that people look at us and go, wow, what a life lived. What a Christian witness lived. And I want to talk to you, verse 15 says it like this: everyone comes naked from their mother's womb, and as everyone comes, so they depart. They take nothing from their toil, their work, that they can carry in their hands. You can't bring it with you afterwards, is what he's saying. You come in with nothing, you're gonna leave with nothing. But here's the thing. The question is not whether you come in with something or you leave with nothing. The question is, what have you done in between? How have we been faithful in between? And I wanna challenge you guys to be faithful to Grace Church. Now, a lot of you attend this church because you've seen people's lives change, your life changed. You've seen people's lives change, you've seen people baptized. In about 2 weeks, I'm gonna give you, about 3 weeks, I think, I'm gonna give you a big, little booklet, if you will, that's gonna talk about where all the money in the church went for this year. Our budget was $11,500,000 this year. We're gonna say like, what did we do to spend with the money? Where did it go? How did it go? It's gonna be awesome. You're gonna see life change. You're gonna see the stories of salvation. You're gonna see all kinds of stuff because we've invested and we've done a lot of hard work and we've worked together as a church. We've seen a lot of people in Central Florida change. This church is one of the fastest growing churches in Central Florida. And the reason for that is God, not me, and it's not you, it's the Lord. If we ever get that backwards, everything begins to unravel. So I wanna ask you to start being faithful givers. And what I mean by that is like consistent givers, right? I don't want you to tip God. I don't wanna get to heaven and you be, I gave you a 5, that's great. Well, God's like, I'm gonna give you 5, right? So no, he's not gonna do that. It's not theologically accurate. It's not theologically accurate. That was Mikeology, not the Bible. All right, so all that to say though, I don't want us tipping God. I don't want you to be an emotional giver. I don't want you to go, that message was so inspiring, here's money. That's a terrible way to give. I want you to be systematic in the way that you give. Go online, sign up, and be a person. Listen, I told you, we give 13%. I'm not asking you to start at 13% if you've been a non-giver or if you're in financially challenging situations. I'm simply asking you to go in and go, hey, what is reasonable? If this is reasonable, then here's where I want you to go. And then I want you to take one step further. You go, why one step further from reasonable? Well, because this is the faith part. If you can do it and it's no big deal, it's no big deal. For some of you, tithing is kind of a joke. You have way more money than you shouldn't be tithing. You should be excessively giving, right? So I want to challenge you to do that. I want you to go online and sign up for a monthly, but however you're paid, I don't care, whatever. Just go online and sign up and say, you know what? I'm gonna take 1/3, not 1/3, but I'm gonna take 1/3 of the 3 things I should be doing. Say I should be investing, I should be saving, and then I should be giving. This giving thing, I wanna significantly give to Grace Church to make a difference because we've got some big things coming up and we're just beginning. We're gonna see more and more people and lives changed, and God is doing incredible things. So I want you to be a part of that, okay? The reason why you're here today is because people who came before you were faithful with their giving, and that's the reason why we have this building and all this stuff that we have right now. God is faithful. Verse 16, it says it like this: this too is a grievous sin. As everyone comes, so they depart, and what do they gain? Since they toil for the wind. Jesus says it like this in another place: do not store up for yourself treasures on earth where moths and vermin destroy and where thieves break in and steal, right? So let's just say this right here. He's like, don't just invest in the things of this world because one day all the things of this world will be gone. But look at the second part of this, because the second part of this says something really interesting I think that we miss a lot. He says, but store up for yourselves treasures in heaven. So what he's saying here is that you can actually invest, and yes, he's talking about money right here, not time, not just relationships, he's talking about money right here. He's saying you can actually invest in a way here that makes a difference actually in heaven. And what I mean by that is all the resources that you and I give to Grace Church goes into seeing lives transformed. And I can tell you right now, as we approach Christmas, we'll see hundreds and hundreds of people come to Christ for the first time. Where we're gonna put them, I have no idea, right? But we're going to see hundreds of people accept Christ over Christmas. And a lot of that's gonna be because we have been faithful with our finances. And it's just like this. If you don't love money, it's not a big deal. If you love it, it's an idol, but that idol will demand a sacrifice from you and it will be a grievous sin in your life down the road. I wanted to just free you from that. Don't be a slave to your money. Don't be afraid of your money. I do not let fear drive our money philosophies. And you should not let fear drive your money philosophy either. All right, here's how this thing wraps up. Verse 18 says this: this is what I've observed to be good, that it is appropriate for a person to eat, to drink, and find satisfaction in their toilsome labor. Let's pause right here. So let's look at this right here. So what is he saying? He's like, it's no good to just hoard money. It's no good to not have enough money to be able to hand down to your children and bless their lives, right? And I love that even non-Christian people realize this. Guys like Warren Buffett's a great example of this. The guy said, what are you gonna do? Hand down like 300 billion to your kids? That would destroy them. He knows that. And he said one day in an interview that I was watching, he said, I'm gonna give them enough money that they can do what they want, but not enough money so that they can do nothing. I thought that was super wise, right? Because Warren understood and talk about somebody who froze his lifestyle somewhere. His house is not much better than my house. And my house isn't that great. I should say that. I shouldn't say that it's the same thing. It's not the same thing, right? That is appropriate for a person to eat, drink, and find satisfaction in toilsome labor. What does that mean? He's just basically saying, you know what's beautiful? When you really pull all this stuff back, when we were talking about all the money and stuff, it's really just the ordinary circumstances that we get together, we get to have a meal together, that we get to drink together, and that we get to what? We get to work. These things, and we get to see the Lord working through all of those things in our life. He's like, this is the blessing of life. That you have what you have, money's become a blessing. The Lord is first in your life, and you get to see him show up in all the different areas of your life. So for us, that's what makes joy. That's what makes happiness. When you see the Lord over and over show up in your life, and you can attribute all of the blessings to him. But look at here in verse 19. When God gives someone wealth and possessions and the ability to enjoy them, to accept their lot and be happy in their toil. This is a gift of God. Take a look at something that's easily missed right here. He says, when God gives someone wealth and possessions. And then he uses this conjunction right here, right? And he says, the ability to enjoy them. The Bible tells us very clearly that God gives some people wealth, stuff, possessions, and then he does not give them the ability to enjoy it. Worst possible outcome that you can have. Tons of money, tons of stuff, and you feel terrible on the inside. Well, why would God give some the ability to enjoy them and some not the ability to enjoy them? Because it has everything to do with your heart and your discipleship. If you're a person that he gives a lot of stuff to and you hoard it and you hold on to it, you're hurting yourself, and he doesn't want to contribute to the hurting of yourself. So he's gonna let you sit in that pain so that eventually you go, you know what? My stuff, my money, it really did not produce anything great in my life. In fact, it's been kind of a dampener on my life. Instead, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put Jesus first. And the irony of that is that when you seek first the kingdom of God, then all these other things that you have, they start to make more sense. They start to be put in their proper context. You save, you give, you invest, right? And then you accept your lot in this life. And here's the last verse. They seldom reflect on the days of their life because God keeps them occupied with gladness of heart. What a beautiful end. This is how I wanna end. And what he means they seldom reflect on the days of their life is not, remember Socrates said the unexamined life is not worth living? He's not talking about an unexamined life. He's saying here that they seldomly reflect on the days of their life in grief, in anxiety, in regret. That's what it's talking about. They seldom reflect on the days of their life in regret because God keeps them occupied with gladness of heart. What a great thing to say. That God can actually just keep you and I occupied day after day after day with gladness of heart. To walk around and go, yeah, I don't feel bad for the things that have happened in my life that have been hard because the Lord has been with me every single day. The Lord has watched over me, he has stewarded me, and he is for me. And there's nothing more that you can have in your life than that. Amen?